Good morning. Well, in many ways, this is the video that we have been waiting for. I'm going to run you through the results of the iconic auction sale. I think it was a bit of a shocker, but let me know what you think in the comments. The key ones, obviously, that we were looking for were the McLaren Senna, estimated 800 to £1 million, and the Ford GT, also 800 to £1 million. So without further ado, I'm going to get my face off the screen and I'll talk you through it. This is a voiceover, and I've also got a spreadsheet, and you know Jeff Buys Cars loves a spreadsheet. So let's crack on with it, because this was an interesting one. So first things first, what was the ratio of sold to unsold? In the competition cars, I make it 50%. I think 50% of the competition cars only actually sold, and on the road cars I make it 67.2%. so we've got 32.8% of the road cars not selling and 50% of the competition cars, which I don't think is a great result for a sale. Right, let's dive straight into the two big hitters, which are the McLaren and the Ford. Those are the ones that everybody wants to know about. So if we whip over to those and take a look at how they did, remember they were both estimated at £800,000 to £1 million. Harry Metcalf highlighted these two cars in his video. Everybody was looking forward to see what the Senna made, being the first one off the lot, and to be honest, the sale was a little bit embarrassing. The Senna stalled out at just £650,000 as a maximum bid, and it was almost painful watching the auctioneer drag that Ford GT from £500,000 up to its finishing point at £650,000. So neither of those cars got anywhere near their estimates and therefore did not sell. So yeah, I would say that those results were not fantastic for those cars, if we want to use that as a grade for where the market and indeed the economy actually is. Right, let's dive into the competition cars for starters. I'm going to be flicking between two screens here because I've got a spreadsheet of what the car was actually bid to, and I've also got the website. Now the website with the results on it doesn't actually tell us what the cars were bid to, but I think that's quite important, so I've recorded that for you. Right, from the top, Boss Mustang 302 sold for an undisclosed sum. Well, no, it wasn't, because if I go back into my spreadsheet, I can see that the Ford Mustang, if I get in the right sheet, the Hammer was 68 on that one. So although it says it sold for an undisclosed sum, the lower estimate was 50,000, the upper estimate was 70,000, making the midpoint estimate more like 60,000, and I saw the Hammer hit £68,000. So I think that car did really well. It's probably the only one in this auction that did really well. The notchback, that's listed now as a buy it now for £55,000, but if I go over here, it only bid up to £40,000, so we were way off on that one. And then the Chevrolet Corvette, that also says sold for an undisclosed sum. The Corvette is here, the C3, 58,500 on the Hammer against a lower estimate of 65 and an upper of 75. So I think that one was about on the money. But as we go further on, we've got the BMW 1800. That's now on buy it now for, oh look, that number 333 is still following me. £33,300 you can buy that for. And if I go over to this page here, you can see that bidding stalled out at £22,000. The estimate was 30. So we had an estimate of 30, bidding only got to 20, so that goes unsold. This one, however, the M5 does sell, 22,500 on that one against an estimate, a lower estimate of 25. So you can see there's a trend here, and if you look at the colours that I've highlighted over here, red means it didn't get near its estimate, green means it was equal to or close to the estimate, and you can see for the competition cars, they're pretty much all red. So I don't see this as a great integer, is that the right word, for where the market is at the moment. The 911 did £54,000, the competition car. That was against a lower estimate of 50. But I see that the Hammer only made it to 38, so that was maybe sold in negotiations afterwards. The Volvo Amazon, that everybody liked and Harry Metcalf highlighted as well, does 25, which is there or thereabouts. So the Hammer was 23, with the fees it's 25, the lower estimate was 20, the upper estimate was 25, so that one's done pretty much bang on. Then we've got this Escort Mark 1 competition car, quite a few of these in this auction, that sells for £46,000. And that is against an estimate of 50 to 60. So again, we're beneath the estimate there. The Morris Minor Lowlight, which is quite a funky thing, goes for 25, with 28 with the premium. So pretty good result on the Morris Minor, I think. And then interestingly, you've got this one here, which shows us regretfully withdrawn, but there's also buy it now on there. So the car was withdrawn from the auction, but you can still buy it. don't know on that one. This Lotus 22 Junior goes for £37,000, and that was against an estimate lower of 30 and upper of 35. So that goes above its estimate. That one did quite well. But that's pretty much, yeah, as I say, well, you'll see as we get on. The 1968 Titan Mark III Formula B, £21,000. That was against an estimate of 25 to 30. So again, we're going beneath the lower estimate there. We've got the ex-Emerson Fittipaldi Lotus. That doesn't sell. Bidding on that one, that was interesting though, because the lower estimate was 65. Bidding only made it up to 50. They're saying the buy it now is 66, so we're a little way off on that one. Same with the Mini. The Mini didn't sell. That's now got a buy it now of £15,000 listed against it. That only bid up to 12 on the day. We've got the Chevrolet Camaro, also unsold, buy it now for 22, but that one only bid up to 16 on the day. Then we've got a Jaguar E-Type. That one's buy it now for 70, so that didn't sell. And the estimate on that was 70 to 100. Bidding stalled out at 46,000. So we're way off on that one. But this one does well. This is the Chevron, 1968 Chevron B8. Sells for £146,000. So I'm obviously missing something there. 130 on the Hammer. With the fees, it's 146, but we're still a little bit off. I mean, the lower estimate was 140. The upper estimate was 160. So, you know, it's basically done the lower end of what they thought it would do. The other E-Type is now on buy it now for 110. So that's unsold as well. And that's against an estimate of 100 to 120. Bidding only gets to 75. Right, moving on to another big hitter. This is the Metro 6R4. This sells for £270,000. But if we flick back over here, the lower estimate, and that's 270 with the fees, the lower estimate was 275, the upper estimate was 325. So although it's sold strong at 270, we're selling low relative to what the estimate said. Now, the one that everybody wanted to know about was this one, which was the Audi S1, the Pikes Peak car. Goes for £123,000, probably the most interesting car in the room. Estimate on that one was 100 to 150, which basically says they don't really know where it was going to go. So that sold well, but it was a great car and it deserved to. The Bentley Continental, however, this one, estimate was 800 to £1 million, £800,000 to £1 million. It's now on buy it now for £880,000, but bidding on the day only made it up as far as £610,000. So we were way off on the Bentley as well. Moving down, we've got the Ford Mustang, unsold, unsold, unsold. So I've got three in a row here that are unsold. The Mustang, the Mitsubishi Galant, and the Porsche 911. How did they do on the bidding? Because that's interesting, because you'll see that they're way off as well. So the Ford Mustang, bidding made it to 60. Estimate was 80 to 90, and the buy it now is 92,000, so we're way off on that one. The Galant is interesting because bidding only made it to 25,000 against the lower estimate as 35,000. The upper estimate is 40,000, but the buy it now is 40,000. That is a case of the auction putting in a lower estimate to try and get that car into the auction. I think the buyer was pretty firm on what they were sticking at, but the auction said, well, we'll put it in at 35 and people think it's a bargain. Well, no, they didn't, because it only bid up to 25. The Porsche itself, though, the lower estimate was 50, the upper estimate was 60. It's on a buy it now for 54, but bidding on the day only made it to 39. So £39,000 was the top bid in the room for the Porsche. Flicking back over to the auction then, we've got a sold Buckler Mistral, that goes for £16,000. Against a lower estimate of 20 to 25 they said that should sell for, and it sells for 16. So I'm not going to say we're giving them away, but we're not far off. Then we've got another Jaguar E-Type that doesn't sell. That's on a buy now for £162,000. Estimate was 160 to 200. Oh, sorry, the buy it now I've got there is £184,000, my mistake, but bidding on the day only made it up to 75. They've dropped that. When I copied this out, that said 184, so they've lowered that price since then. But even at £162,000 as a buy it now, the most interested person on the day was only happy to pay £75,000, which is almost half price. It was less than half price, isn't it? Come on, Jeff, sort your maths out. Right, now this one was interesting. The Porsche 911 also had a massive estimate. I think this one, the estimate on the 911 was 800 to £900,000. Now again, look at this. This is on a buy it now at £920,000, but bidding on the day only goes as far as £680,000. We're £300,000 off the mark with this car. So there's the market for you. We've got a Mark 1 historic rally car that goes at £24,187, but so that's all in at £24,187, but the lower estimate was £25,000. So we're beneath on that. The RS 1600 was an interesting one. They're showing this as sold for an undisclosed sum. So if we flick back over to our Mark III Escort, 19. So the estimate is 2025. It goes at 19 and says sold for an undisclosed sum. So basically it's gone beneath the estimate. Then we've got the Jaguar XJ. This one was a bit of a bargain at £7,800. But again, the lower estimate of 10 grand. So we're way off that as well. Then you've got the Chevette, which is over here. Buy it now £34,000, so that doesn't sell, and the most that made on the bidding was 27.5, so we're not far off on that. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up selling that. Estimate was 30 to 40, bidding stalled at 27.5. Buy it now is set at 34,500, so maybe that'll find a buyer sometime soon. Sunbeam Alpine race car sells for £12,000, and that was against an estimate of 18 to 20. So that does go cheap. Then you've got the Metro Project Pride selling for £10,000 against an estimate of 12 to 16, so that goes cheap as well. And then finally, the 2007 Abarth 500 doesn't find a buyer. They want £17,000 for it, and the most it got up to on the day was 13. So there you go. That is the competition cars. And coming up next is the road cars. First lot is this Escort RS 2000, sells for £34,875, including the premium. And if we go over here, we'll see that the lower estimate on that was 36 with an upper estimate of 40. So straight in at the top with the first car, and we're already selling below the estimate. Sunbeam Tiger Mark 1 sells for £20,000, and if we go over here, the lower estimate on that was £35,000. So we're way off on the Sunbeam Tiger. The Audi Quattro, I said I wasn't sure what this car was worth, but it does pretty well, I think. £77,000, including the premium. That's against an estimate of 65 to 75. So I do think this Audi does pretty well. The Fiesta Mark II only makes £13,500. Bidding goes up to 12 on that one. The lower estimate is £15,000 and the upper estimate is £20,000. So again, I do feel like that went pretty cheap. This Ferrari Dino, it didn't really get anywhere near what they wanted for it. So it goes for £34,667, but the lower estimate was £40,000 and the upper estimate was £50,000. So that went cheap. And also, the Ford Sierra RS Cosworth, it's only done 19,000 miles, but if you watch the auction, there was a moment when it looked like this was going to stall out at £25,000. The auctioneer did a great job to drag this up to £37,000, but that isn't even on the lower estimate. The lower estimate's £38,000. The top bid was 33. Upper estimate was 48. We're nowhere near. So that Sierra Sapphire Cosworth went fairly cheap as well. Then you've got this Porsche 3.3 Turbo, the 911. That's beautiful. We like that. And that does pretty well. So we've got a lower estimate of 90 and an upper estimate of 105, and it goes for 101. The Porsches have done pretty well in this auction. The CLK 63 Black Series goes for 129, and again, that's done well. So estimate on that was 100 to 120. We finish out 105, add the premium, 129. So a good result on both of these two cars here. Moving down, we've got this Cayman GT4, doesn't sell, so it's now available at £84,000. So the Cayman GT4 is this one here. It's only 230 miles. The lower estimate was 78, the upper estimate was 85, but bidding stalled out at 65. So we're £20,000 away on getting that car sold. The Bentley Continental with the red wheels, I didn't think much of this car if you saw my first video. That is now on a buy it now for £59,500, which means it didn't sell. Bidding on the day reached a maximum of 47. Moving on to the Mini, that's now on a buy it now for 32, so that didn't sell either. They want 32 for that. The maximum bid on the day was 23. So we're a little bit off with the Mini as well. Then you've got this Escort RS 2000, that does sell, but at £59,625, including the premium. Now the lower estimate on that was 60. That was estimated at 60 to 70, and it goes just a shade under 60. This Ford Focus RS does fairly well at 32, but that's because it's a fast Ford and it's low mileage. So estimate on that one 32 to 36. Bidding stalls out at 28.5, so that's 32,000 with the premium bolted on as well. And then this Supra as well. We all like the look of this Supra twin turbo. It does £30,000 against an estimate of 30 to 36, so pretty much bang on, with bidding stalling out at 27. The Caterham, if we move on here, £17,000 on that one, against an estimate of 15 to 20, so about right on that. And I was quite surprised by this one. This is lot number 616, which is the 1990 GTD 40. It sells for £56,000, which is above its estimate. Estimate was 38,000 to 48,000. Bidding finishes at 50,000, and once you add the fees on, that's 56. That car does really well. The Lotus Engineering replica doesn't sell. I didn't actually record what that bid up to, but the Amel cars, both I thought did fairly well. They sold, which I thought was good, but they are quite a way off their estimate. So this one here goes for £63,000, but the estimate was 65 to 85. Bidding on that one only goes up to 50. So you can see there's a gap there, isn't there? We're a little bit off. And then going down to this one does fairly well. This is the Amel car C6 Voiturette, 110 to 130 on this one, and the hammer falls at 132. 148,500 with the premium, so a good result for that Amel car. This one as well was a massive surprise for me, the 1983 Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. The estimate on the Sunbeam was 40 to 50, and it finishes up at 58, so a really good result for the Lotus. So it's not all bad news. The charity lot, the electric Mini, goes for £25,000, and that's £25,000 going to Refuge, the charity, so I don't even mind that it's an electric car. Let's be honest, the person that dropped 25 grand on that's never going to use it anyway. So thank you very much for donating that money to a charity that actually matters. Then the Ford Escort RS Turbo Series 1, lot 621, sells for £43,875, and that is against an estimate of 45 to 55. So once again, we are below the lower estimate on that car. The Aston Martin doesn't sell, Kermit the Frog, that's because it's hideous. It's available now for £55,000. That was the upper estimate. It was estimated at 45 to 55. Bidding fell out at 47. I'm surprised they couldn't find a buyer on that one at 47, but there you go. 1983 Vauxhall Chevette, the Vader, sells for £67,000, and that is on a bid of 60 with a lower estimate of 60. So pretty accurate on that one. They must have known exactly what that car was going to sell for. The Sierra RS500 is another car that I was looking forward to seeing what it would do, and it does £102,000, which is above its upper estimate. The estimate on that was 85 to 100. Bidding finishes at 91. Add the fees, you end up with 102. So £102,000 on the Escort Cosworth. This 911 as well, the two 911s coming up next, we thought would do a lot better than they did. This is a low mileage 911 GT3. It goes for £73,000, but if we whip back over to the estimate on it was 80 to 100. So we're looking for £80,000 to £100,000, and the hammer falls at £65,000 only, 73 with the premium. So this white 911 goes below the estimate, as does this one. So this is the GT3 RS with only 550 miles. Estimate on it was 140,000 to 180,000. It sells for 129,000, including the premium. So the lower estimate was 140, and bidding finished at 115. This RS200S as well goes unsold. They want £310,000 for the red RS200S. Now, if we whip back over here, the lower estimate was 300, the upper estimate was 350. Bidding on the day only went as far as £262,000. So we're £50,000 off where we need to be on the RS200. The Metro 604 Clubman sells for £200,000, but again, that is bang on the lower estimate. The estimate on this was 200 to 240. So So we're only just scraping into that lower estimate there. The Tommy Mackinnon Mitsubishi Lancer does really well at £78,000 against an estimate of 70 to 90. It finishes at 70, which is bang on the lower estimate there. So the bid finishes a bang on the lower estimate. Add the fees, 78,750 quid. A lot of money for a Mitsubishi Evo 5, isn't it? Crikey. The Porsche 911 RS replica does £78,000, and that is against an estimate of 70 to 80. If you're following my spreadsheet, so about on the money. And the BMW M3, £37,000. Yes, it wasn't the best M3 in the world, but that's a very cheap BMW M3, isn't it? The estimate on this was 40 to 50, and it goes for 37. That's very cheap for an M3, even a project. This Porsche Speedster Outlaw doesn't sell. Top bid on the day for the Outlaw was £58,000 only. And then this Escort Mexico Mark 1. Can you believe it? A Mark 1 restored Escort Mexico, not finding a buyer. That is buy it now at 55. The estimate on it was 57 to 64, but bidding stalls out at 48. Have these early Fords had their day? Are all the owners of these early Fords going to be going into old people's homes at the same time? The Alfa Romeo, which I thought was beautiful, doesn't sell. £59,000. Bidding made it as far as 52. Against an estimate of 65 to 75. So 65 to 75 they wanted, and they got 52, so no sale on that one. And then this one over here, the Mercedes 280, I kind of knew that this car wasn't going to sell. It's on a buy it now for 86. The estimate on this car was 78 to 85. Bidding on the day only made it as far as £60,000. If you own that car, I think it's time to let it go. You've tried 2 auctions and it hasn't sold twice. Just put it on We Buy Any Car. The 1972 TVR Vixen V8 Tuscan Homage is buy now for £52,000. Bidding on the day only made it as far as 43. Estimate was 55 to 65. Another Sunbeam over here only goes for £27,000. So you've got the road going version that does £50,000, and then for half price you can have a rally car. Sometimes hard to make that make sense, isn't it? But that is that's cars for you. And that was against an estimate of 40 to no, it wasn't 40 to 50. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one there. That was at an estimate of 18 to 24. 18 to 24 on that one. So it does pretty well against his estimate. Now, twin turbo Supra. Everybody wanted to know about this, but it didn't sell. The estimate was 40 to 50. I didn't actually get a record as what that bid up to, but it didn't sell. It's on a buy now for £42,000. The Cayman didn't sell either. This was interesting. So this Cayman, the estimate was 65 to 75, but bidding only made it as far as £56,000. So no go on the Cayman. Here's the two that I launched the video with, the McLaren Senna and the Ford GT Heritage Edition. Neither of them sell. You could buy the McLaren now for £840,000, and you can buy the Ford now for £865,000. Both cars only bid on the day up to £650,000. Way off, unsold. Aston Martin DBS Superleggera goes for £152,000, and I think what helped that car sell was Harry Metcalf, basically, in his video the other day. So bang on its lower estimate. The estimate was 150 on that one. It goes 152. The RS200 unsold. Where was this one? Let's go over here. 350,000 to 400,000 was the estimate. Only makes it up to 260,000 on the day, which is almost £100,000 beneath what the vendor wants. So no sale on that one. But this one over here, the ProDrive, this was a really interesting auction to watch because it goes for £562,000, and it got there fairly easily as well. There was no reserve on this one. There was no estimate, so it wasn't easy to see what it was going to sell for. But doing my research last night, I think that's pretty much bang on what that car would have cost brand new with all the taxes and everything. So that car basically hasn't depreciated in 121 miles, but it also hasn't really made any money either. So yeah, you end up at zero with that one. The Bentley Arnage finished at £22,000 against an estimate of 23 to 26. The Mini Cooper does £54,000 against an estimate of 50 to 60. The Alfa Giulia, £29,000. That's against an estimate of 22 to 28, so going just above that one. The Datsun did well as well, £42,750 on the 260Z, and that's against an estimate of 30 to 35. So yeah, that car did well. Another Mark 1 Mexico coming up. That's this one. This one sells for £42,000. Estimate was 40 to 50, so we're in the ballpark. And the Fiat Dino, absolutely gorgeous, doesn't sell. Estimate on the Dino was 65 to 75, but the bidding stalled out at 38. That's interesting, isn't it? It's not like this auction wasn't well advertised. The Lotus Elan S3 Drophead Coupe, £21,000 that sells for, against an estimate of 25 to 30. So again, we're going beneath. The XK150, I could have told you that wasn't going to sell. Nobody wants these cars anymore. It's on a buy now for £80,000. The lower estimate was 70, and on the day it only made it as far as 52. The Mercedes-Benz 190 SL doesn't sell. I could have told you that one wasn't going to sell either. I've driven that car. There you go, a little tidbit of information for you. It's on a buy now for £79,500, which I can tell you is £40,000 less than what it was sold for a little while ago. And it's only bid up to £62,000 on that one, so no go on the 190 SL. This Mini 1275 GT, estimate 18 to 26, goes for £19,000, including the premium. The Porsche 911, if we can look over here, the estimate is 50 to 60, sells for 57. So again, we're going below the estimate. The Ford Mexico estimate was for 35 to 40, and we're selling at 37, so just inside the estimate range there. The Porsche 911 SC Targa, this is a great looking car. This is the brown one, £67,500, against an estimate of 45 to 55. Basically, if Harry Metcalf says you should buy a car, you should buy a car, because he highlighted that one in his video as well, and he highlighted the Aston Martin, and both of them did fairly well. The soft top Defender does £29,000 against an estimate of 28 to 38, so only just in the estimate range. The the 110 Heritage Tribute, £23,000 against an estimate of £26,000. Can you see a trend here? Basically, we're selling a couple of thousand or 3,000 or 10,000 beneath the estimate every time, apart from when we're not. The Jaguar XJR does £20,000 against an estimate of 20 to 25. The Austin Mini Cafe Racer does £18,562 against an estimate of 18 to 24. And finally, the Land Rover Defender 90 soft top that was estimated at 27 to 37,000 pounds, bid stall out at 19,000, and it goes unsold. You can have that now for 26,000 pounds if you like. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think this says about the classic car market and the classic car world. Which car would you have bought? Which car did you buy? And which car surprised you? Thank you very much for watching another Jeff Buys Cars auction review. So many auctions in January and February. I'm going to struggle for what to do in March and April, aren't I? Right, thanks for watching.